for Kike returning to the Dodgers.
And on top of that, you're welcome for having Mookie Betts already be there to greet him from Massachusetts. But we just hope it's the end of our generosity to LA. It's hard to bear sometimes watching those games. So we thank the senator from Los Angeles, and now Senator, congressional expert. It's an oxymoron. There really is no such thing. It's like jumbo shrimp, oxymoron. Salt Lake City nightlife, no such thing. But I'm now going to recognize a man who was elected to Congress 40 years ago, and he's taken the train every single day. So I give you an expert, Senator Carper, the chairman of the committee.
Thanks so much. I've shared this story with some of my colleagues before, but when my sister and I, we were born in West Virginia, coal mining town, Beckley. And even after we moved away, we'd go back in our summers and visit our grandparents, our cousins and all. And one of our grandparents, my dad's grandparents, lived along a railroad track. And we would almost faithfully every morning there, we were staying with those grandparents about 10 o'clock in the morning. A freight train would come through. And probably not even as far as from here to that wall back there. And my sister and I would stand at a fence that separated the rail track and my grandparents' house. And we would stand at that fence, and as the train got closer and closer, we would try to get the attention of the engineer by jumping up and down and pumping our arms so that he might blow his whistle and recognize that we were alive. And one particular day this happened, and not only did he blow his whistle, but he stopped right in front of the house. I mean, like right in front of the house. Off the train comes my grandfather, our grandfather, opens the gate, takes us by the hand, both of us, puts us up on the train, and we take off. It seemed like for about 500 miles. It was about 50 feet, no, maybe 500 feet. And the train stops, and my grandfather helps us get off the train and says, run back to the house, don't tell your grandmother. We ran back to the house. Grandma, you'll never guess what Grandpa did. And she said, he didn't. He didn't do that. He'll go to jail. If he did it today, he would go to jail. And we might go with him. So anyway, my involvement with the train started at an early age, and my interest continues to this day. When I rode down this morning on Amtrak to get here. But I want to thank our chairman for holding the hearing today. Rail continues to be a key component of our U.S. transportation infrastructure, the most fuel-efficient mode of service land transportation that I think we have. I've used for years the figure takes to ship by rail a ton of freight from Washington, D.C. to Boston, Massachusetts. Takes about a gallon of diesel fuel. That's pretty good, pretty economical. I'm told by the barge people that at least sending stuff on barges can be even more fuel efficient, and they probably have something to say there. But in everything we do, I think we ought to do better, try to do better at least. And the same is true for reducing emissions from all kinds of vehicles, including trains in our country. Rail yards in particular often have a much higher density of local emissions. Reducing emissions at yards seems like, I guess, like low-hanging fruit when it comes to improving public health and climate outcomes. I have a question from Ms. Torres that relates to this, and then maybe one for Mr. Rosen as well. But Ms. Torres, is she remote? Yes. So, Ms. Torres, where are you?
I'm here in San Bernardino, California.
You're in California?
San Bernardino, California, yes.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us. Could you briefly elaborate for us on the disproportionate health and economic burdens that are faced by communities near rail yards? And go ahead and try that, and then I have a second half. Go ahead.
Thank you for that question. Yes, for communities living by rail, kind of as you were growing up by a rail line. Thank you for sharing that story. There's at least more than 90% of diesel exhaust of I talked about earlier, particulate matter, that are coming into our communities not only from the direct rail line or rail yards, but there's what we like to call cumulative impacts as well. So when we talk about the locomotives that are coming and are idling for more than 30 minutes, that's 30 minutes of direct exposure of diesel particulate matter that community is suffering with. That is leading to cancer, health, cardiovascular. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just being summoned to come to another here. We have a simultaneously meeting, the Finance Committee's meeting right now. We're just having a live vote and a business meeting, and they need my presence to come and vote with respect to pharmacy benefit managers. And it's a big issue, and I got to go. I'm going to ask you to respond to the question for the record. Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of other questions for Mr. Rosen, and I apologize. I profusely apologize, but I've been here for a long time. I still haven't learned how to be in two places at once. So thank you all. This is really important stuff. I'm grateful that you're holding this hearing, both of you.
Yep. He's not ubiquitous, but he is omniscient. Okay, so, you know, that we know. So now we'll go back to the non-expert part.